For this gentleman to be over here and not be treated like the rest? No, he's not. I'm part of the media too, Tim, asshole.
Mr. Chairman, let me add on to that. I don't know what we talked about several times about certifying the jail if it's attached to the old building. My understanding, we can't certify the new jail if it's attached to the old building, even with a walkway. So that kind of makes that a moot point. The state won't certify it. Again, that's insurance, lawsuits, etc. Someone else brought up bringing in state prisoners. We're trying to make money off of that. Sorry, we actually lose money on state prisoners. That's open information. You can look that up. It's not, we don't lose much, but they don't pay hardly as much as it does to maintain the prison. So those are things that are just not there. This is information that we have, that we're trying to share. And you understand from our perspective why we're leaning the way we're leaning. I know you got a ton more questions than that, but those are just a couple of things, along with these gentlemen, we can clear up tonight.
Mr. Nixon, I've got a few things I want to bring up. I want to clarify this referendum. I brought it up 3 times. Last time I brought it up, I got an apology from the mayor. I got an apology from Jeff Gardner that the county can instigate a referendum, just like they did in 2001 on the wheel tax. We wouldn't have to have 3,000 names on them. I headed that thing up. I got 1,700 people on the referendum. I couldn't get, in less than 2 weeks' time, that's all I could get. But a referendum still can be put on this ballot. The ballot's not been set yet. We don't know who's going to be running for office. So we do have time to get this referendum on there. That's one thing. The next thing is there's been some comments about how much money would we save if we take the Justice Center away from the jail. And at one time, several months ago, we could save $20 million. Mr. Huntsman asked me about that. I don't know what the figures are today. Does anybody know?
Where did you get the $20 million figure? I had heard 17.
I asked a question in a meeting, how much could we save if we didn't do the Justice Center? The first figure was $19 million, and the last figure I heard was $20 million if we don't build the Justice Center.
Yeah, who's that from?
What?
Who were those figures from?
Mr. Brick.
Mr. Brick. Last I heard was 17 million.
Well, the first one was 19, and then the next one was 20. Okay, another question that some people ask me to look into is, what's the minimum size of a jail cell? And it's 35 square feet per person. But this jail doesn't have any single cells in it. So one person would, if you isolate him, with the exception of, I think, six other cells that they are isolated. I don't know what size they are, I've never been told. These are going to be 70 square feet, 7 by 10, 2 men. So if you got 1 man, he's just going to have to stay in a cell with 70 square feet, which is small. It is, you know what 7 10 is. I got a bathroom like that. The next thing is, how many solitary confinement cells are there? The last I heard there were 6 in this jail. Anybody can answer that? I'd like to know what size they are. There's a big issue on the stairways, the walkways on the jail. I know it.
What's the issue on the stairways?
Beg your pardon?
You said there was an issue on the stairways? What's the issue on the stairways?
How many square feet is taken up in stairways and walkways? Can I go on?
Yeah, I didn't know what you meant. If there was an issue, I just wondered what the issue was.
I wasn't too, but that's okay. Next thing on the contract. How long is Blaine's contract good for? I mean, we hadn't voted on it yet. Let me
It's a 24-month duration on this.
Are you talking about the price?
Price.
How long the price is? It's good till
How long is the price good for?
till December the 12th. December the 12th. 30 days. 60 days. December.
The next question I was, how many inmates we got in jail, but Ms. Laws told me we got 255 today. About 20 state inmates. That's all I have.
Let me say something.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, can I mention something here? The question has come up about state inmates and federal inmates. That's not our decision to make. That will be the sheriff's decision to make and his staff. We cannot manage the sheriff and his budget. We can recommend and suggest to him, but the sheriff and his staff will operate the jail, and so if they decide for state inmates, I don't know whether there's anything we can do about that or not. I'll have to check into that.
All right, I don't say much, I just listen. But I came in the middle of this, actually toward the end. Y'all had done a lot of research before I knew anything about it. I did try to pick up a little bit and go visit and so forth. This situation with the money, though, is for our county, has gotten too big. I don't think this county can handle it. That's my opinion. I like what Mr. Doty suggested to be. And I think maybe we need to back off and maybe look at just the jail, or maybe look at what he said about connecting the jail with the existing jail. But I don't think we need to spend what's out there right now. Justice Center looks good. But the need in Hamblen County is a jail. You know, we're spending, just like this article here, we're spending a whole lot more for a jail than we are for a school. So I think we need to look at this, back up, let's see, is this the way we want to go? So that's my opinion. Like I said, I like what Mr. Doty had to say. I told him that.
I'll tell you what, the biggest problem I had is there's no compromise. I don't see any compromise down the pike at all. Seems like architects that come up figuring, we just go ahead and patting them down, we just keep passing on. But, you know, and really, you know, to start with, it's going to be a 2-story, then it went to a 3-story, and then we just keep adding on to it, seems like. And I don't know how you all feel about it like that, but, you know, if you had cherries growing in the backyard, there's only so many cherries you pick off the cherry tree. And we just seem like our money just have like a cherry tree like that. We just keep picking more, but it's like the cherry tree is about dried up. And, you know, I'm really upset about spending this kind of money too. I mean, I love Hamblen County. I love the people. I've been here over 50 years. All my 4 children grew up here. My grandchildren grew up here, and they pay taxes. They have homes, and I don't know where it's going to wind up. But you know, I've been a commissioner now 7 years, and
I know we've been talking about this jail for the time I've been on this thing altogether. And bottom line is, I've got to commend these particular commissioners at this time. Because the first time that we're getting something done. Now, it might not be what you like, but everything's gone out of sight, gone crazy. But we need a jail. Now, my thing is, where's the compromise here? How come we can't do some compromise here? Like you said, if we say 20 million on the justice center, maybe we can remodel and do stuff like that. Why is that not even brought up, not even considered? You know, they say, well, maybe you can't remodel stuff, just made out of wood or something like that. I don't know. I just think there's some more issues here that need to be addressed. Maybe it's rolled a little bit, I'll tell you. Because I'll tell you what, when you go $137 million in debt, all of a sudden, you go from one day that you're not in debt, the next day $137 million debt, you're in trouble. I feel like you've got a albatross around our neck. It's been there for a long time, you know. And so I just wish there's some compromise here and somebody willing to understand that and be willing to listen to these things instead of just saying sign up for it. Because if we pass that bill, pass that thing next week like that, it's over. You know, and it's scary to me. Anyway.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. I agree. We've got to cut this back. It's a lot more money than this county can sustain. When you look at the national level, and you see how things are filtering down in the states, counties, and will be basically locked till 2034, I believe. So, that's why if we look at another option, say build the jail, if we're okay to hook it to the old Justice Center, I might even say 40, 50 million. You know, we need to at least look at it and say, I think we need to compromise.
Mr. Chairman, everybody here is right. You know, there's nobody here that's saying something that's wrong. It's just a different opinion. We all want the best for Hamblen County. I see that. I've never said that we couldn't save $30 million because I believe we could by building less. I don't disagree with the statement. We can save, but is it the right answer today? Is it the right answer? Because just a figure has been thrown around just now, $20 million to save by not building the Justice Center. Okay, let's do that. Let's cut back. Let's not build the Justice Center. And then you spend $8 to $9 million renovating it. A net increase of $11 million. So I'm going to look at this, a 40 to 50 year project for $11 million. Which way am I going? I'm looking at the vision down the road, guys. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what the population. I did go with the studies. We started out with 700 to 900 beds. That was the issue. Are we going to build 700 or 900? That was where we started at. Now, we whittled that down. I heard it tonight. How many designs? If you were here at the very beginning, we had the designs laid out on this screen. It happened right here in this room. Right here in this room, we looked at these designs. Corruption, bullcrap. I'm sorry. Folks, this is the hardest decision this body's ever made for our county. It's the largest capital project we've ever incurred. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to spend $92 million, but by golly, if we don't do it today, we have to do it somewhere. I think it's cheaper today to bite it off and move forward. That's my opinion. Thank you. Well, it has gone up. I mean, just in 6 months, it's gone up, folks. I don't want to do this. It may cost me my seat because whatever. I'm doing it because I feel it's the right decision for our county. They talk about safe. I mean, the state fire marshal looked at it, the PNC Corrections Institute. Folks, we can't build something that's not safe.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The state fire marshal approved the one level jail in Coffee County too. And it's 2 pods, 200 men each pod. In a 1-day period, it takes 3 people to watch it. 4 people to watch it. It takes 1 in each one for day shift, on in each pod, and 1 roller. And for the night shift, it takes the same amount of people. It takes 6 people to watch 425 inmates. And theirs is, I got the document from Coffee County, they've got 44 people allocated for that jail, to look after the jail. If anybody wants to see a copy of that, I'll give them one.
Anyone else?
Mr. Warren, if I might, just real quick, I brought up a point, and Mr. Holmes had a, differing look at that. I'd just like to ask the county mayor, can this jail be certified if we attach to the old building but house no prisoners there, only courts?
Let's talk about, there's 2 different issues here. One is the juveniles. Juveniles staying in a separate, and the conversation I had with the folks was, if there's inmates walking in the hallways, and then you can continue to hold. You know, it's not on a routine basis, and that they're supervised. We continue to operate temporary holding. As far as if we connect the 2 buildings, it's my understanding is that if we don't house in the existing building, then the new building could be certified. But if we house, then neither one of them would be certified.
But as long as we keep prisoners in the new jail, then it could be certified with us having a corridor using the existing justice center as a courtroom.
That's my understanding.
Would you
Thank you, sir.
make sure that TCI has a representative here on the 18th?
Yes.
Is that included?
Because they're the ones that can turn us down, and we want to make sure.
Oh, no, not do that. We're looking at the house. If you're not in the bad section. We're only housed in the section that does.
So the juveniles, but that won't be a barrier to being able to connect.
Housing them would not count as housing.
If no inmates can be in there, what about the juveniles?
The juveniles the way I understand it, and I'll clarify that, but is that the juveniles we can continue to use temporary holding. And they're there no longer than 72 hours at a time. It's temporary. So it's not long term.
My understanding, Mayor, is that what would have gotten us decertified is the section that was built on, as they call it, the annex there for years, that has wood in the construction. That would be what would cause us to not be, but as long as we don't house prisoners.
That's my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
Bill, when we first started this, and I was the jail chairman, the jail studies chairman, it came to our attention as a committee that we could not build over there because of, the underground caverns and everything that may be under the building. And if we did attach the new building to the old building, you wouldn't bring the old building certification up and you would lower the new building. It can't possibly be certified.
I don't remember the caverns conversation. What I remember, the key item changed the scope of this project was when TCI came in and said we could not use the top floor of the annex for housing because it was not made out of corrections grade material. It had a roof, and it had wood roof and trusses, and those have to be made out of steel. And so it was the decision of this body. To use that building, you would have to torn off that second floor and start it over. And the decision of this body is to take, instead of spending money on that, is spend it on a new facility.
Mayor, is there any structural damage right now to the old facility?
We had a structural assessment done by an engineer when we started this process back in 2014, 2015. And there is some need to strengthen I've looked at the study, but basically it's like pull the building together. And there is that need for the 1979 building.
Would that take care of the cracks I know the sheriff showed us some pictures of some very serious cracks where you could see straight outside. Would that wrapping that building take care of those cracks?
That's what the engineers.
Okay.
I remember that study. It cost us $9,000 to do it. His life statement was fixing the roof, probably put the cable and the turnbuckle, pulling it in where it don't keep spreading out. We could use that gel, and we could do whatever we wanted to do. It's good. It's good. As far as he was concerned, it's good to go. I still got the article, but I won't read it.
The study, you guys have the study. It's in your book.
Do you still have storage stuff in the attic?
Yes.
And that
We don't have as much, but we still have some.
that would improve the situation if we had all of that out of there.
That would help. That would help the situation.
I'd like to have just one other thing. This article is great, and I appreciate you guys for bringing it. But when this article was written in 2017, our plans on this $35 million was to attach to the building that we have, because the structural engineer said if we do this work, then it will be safe. TCI then came in and said we couldn't certify it because of the roof and the construction in the annex. That's why this $35 million increased dramatically, was because we went from utilizing part of the cells and area that we have in the existing Justice Center jail to not being able to use them at all and having to replace every one of them.
Plus the workhouse.
Plus the workhouse and everything else. I would love to see us get back to this. I don't think there's any way possible we can get down to this number. And like Commissioner Cutshaw was saying, when it started, it was, we almost put house 700 or 900. And we did cut it down. We have dwindled it down. We were looking at 3 separate buildings because of having the work release over in one, the jail here and the new jail, and trying to logistically a nightmare. We have looked at all that, and speaking as a mechanic, doing industrial mechanical work for the last 30 plus years, every contractor I've talked to, and I've asked many, will tell you it is cheaper to build up than it is out. And it's the same square footage as far as per inmate. Mr. Neesmith said, whether it's 1 or 4 levels, you're still building square footage. And they're telling me that it is cheaper. And I only have to go by what they tell me. They're the experts. And just one real quick thing, Ms. Howell brought up wanting to utilize the technology. And we've even looked into that as far as corrections officers will not have to utilize a manual shutoff to shut off water if there's a flood, or numerous other things, because we're using solenoid controlled valving. So they'll be able to push a button at the control panel to shut that water off. So which would cut down dramatically on those numbers that we're required to staff, because we're utilizing every bit of new technology that we can. And folks, we've tried this, we have. I'm still against spending that kind of money. I hope we could come to an agreement, and as Mr. Huntsman said, a little give and take somewhere. But in the end, we do have to build a jail in this county. And we do have to do it for the future.
I've got some comments here. I don't say a whole lot, but this was already started when I came on as commissioner. I've been listening and seeing this big change. We've had changes made to now. Instead of being less, it's more. I don't like the idea of having to borrow this kind of money either, but we have got to have a jail that's been put off, and put off, and put off. It's too long. It's time we did something to get this going. Because those people are, if you visit the jail, look at it, what they have to live in. I know they've done stuff wrong, but they don't need to be treated like that. So we need to move on with getting this jail. My opinion.
When we get back to designing this thing and getting ready to go forward with it, we've got to remember one thing, and that's staffing. We initially were looking at something that we couldn't possibly come up with the qualified people to run it. And if we're not careful in designing it, we're going to be right back where we were to start with and have a nice beautiful jail out in the middle of nowhere and nobody to put in it to run it. And these people ain't going to take care of themselves. No, we got to take care of it. So we may have to go back to the drawing board and look at some things like the wagon wheel concept for one. And before we bite off more than we can chew, we need to take another look at it.
Mr. Chairman, did I not hear the sample or the example that we've been talking to about Coffee County for multiple years now? We've all gone down and looked at it. We liked what we saw. It was great that they built it when they built it because it saved them a lot of money. If we had not been fighting this and pushing it off, we could have saved a lot of money if we'd just done it earlier. However, did I not understand that they are now at capacity and they're going to have to add on to that jail?
They've been at capacity during the past 6 months.
Do we have any type of figures of what they're going to spend now in addition to that? And is that relative to what they spent? They won't get the number of beds that they got when they built it the last time because those prices are no longer there. Is that correct?
They would spend, from what one of their staff persons told me, their chief deputy told me, is that they're looking, let's say 3 to 5 years down the road, building the third pod for the cost of what they built 2 for. That's what he told me.
Meaning that things have doubled.
Along your lines, Randy, we've never studied a one-story bridge. We've talked about it one-on-one. The only, you check your records, the only thing that's come out on this one-story thing, and Mr. Sheffield said, well, that one sale deal is out because they do not have a justice center. That's the only thing that's been brought. We have no figures, no numbers, how much it's gonna cost. We have nothing on it. You don't have a comparison. We don't have one.
Well, come up with something, Wayne.
I'm not on the committee.
You are.
Everybody is.
Everybody's on the committee.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get Coffee County Sheriff and Bubba and the mayor to come up here at our next meeting, man. How's that?
Well, if that would be okay with me, but.
They told me twice they'd come up anytime they want us to.
We've had some criticism tonight about, basically, if I understood it correctly, that we did not involve the sheriff's staff or the jail staff in the funding process. Would you explain that process?
Yes, when we formed, I guess it's been 3 years ago now, when we formed the design committee, I talked to the sheriff, asked who he wanted on the committee, and he recommended his jail administrator, Captain Laws, and Lieutenant Hamrick at the time, and they were there since day one. They've been involved since day one. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
and also for court security, we've had the court security folks involved in looking at the design and reviewing the design, making sure that the courtrooms would be safe and the maneuvering prisoners would be safe, and so they've been involved in the process. Every department has been involved in this process. One thing I would like to bring up, there's been a lot of talk about courtrooms and eliminating courtrooms, and let me just mention something to you. It is with COVID and with the pretrial lawsuit and what's going on now to meet the requirements under the judge, one of the judge's first decisions is we require more court time and court space. The only courtroom that meets the needs of, and you can talk to Judge Snyder about this if you would like, to meet Judge Snyder's need for juvenile court is this courtroom. And so she takes this courtroom at least 2 days a week, at least. Then you have Chancery. And then you have child support court. But the little courtrooms cannot be used because they're too small. Too small for the people that would have to use those courtrooms and keep a safe distance. And I'm not talking 6 feet necessarily. So in this building, we have really one courtroom that is functional. Now, in the Justice Center, and let me back up. And then in the design of the new building, I thought Judge Snyder had a great idea when we were talking about eliminating or shelling in one courtroom, is that she would move juvenile court into the big courtroom in the Justice Center, which also houses juvenile court services right across the hall. And so juvenile court services won't be jumping from building to building like they are now. And so it's consolidating operations for juvenile court. And there's room, Judge Collins' courtroom would be used as a staging area, which was an area that was being shelved in the new building. And the big courtroom would be used with minor, maybe new flooring, maybe new paint. The big courtroom would be used for juvenile and civil court that Judge Snyder has. And then you have 2 courtrooms in the new building, one for Judge Collins and one for criminal and circuit. And there's also in the design as well, because of the lawsuit, Judge Collins is talking about a law change. We've talked about a law change that would allow the magistrates, which you guys have funded. Right now, they do not have the authority to change bonds. Only a judge can do that. So right now, Judge Collins is starting he's starting bail hearings, and he's starting them at 9 o'clock and not getting to his court docket till 11. And at 8 o'clock, or right around 8 o'clock, is when he does the video visitation, the video arraignment. So there's more court time now required. And so that there's a greater need now than there was a year ago. Well, let's say a year and a half ago, pre-COVID, for court space. And I'm with you all as far as the cost of this project, but there's a need. There's a need now, and definitely a need in the future. Also, let me talk a little bit about, there's been a lot of discussion about our economy and how bad it is. And I can tell you right now There's 90 counties in Tennessee that love to have the economy we have. We have right now 7 manufacturing companies that are expanding over the next 3 years. You have Van Huel that will begin operation in 2024. You have next month you'll be presented with a retail development, a plan for a retail development, which will ask the city and county for tax increment financing. That'll bring a strip center and 2 big box stores to the west end of the county. You have sales tax that's growing between 8 and 10%. You have you've got a lot of good economic activity going on. Last Tuesday, after our meeting on Monday, I had a hearing or a telephone call with Moody's bond rating service. They're the ones who rate our bonds, how credit worthy is our debt, and we are currently at AA3, which is strong for a county our size. And we had the discussion. He asked a lot of tough questions. We answered questions about economic activity. We told him and showed him the graphs about how we grew fund balance last year by $2.8 million. Our debt service will finish this year or last year with about a $9 million fund balance, and next year with a $12 million fund balance, preparing for the bond issues. And they were impressed with the numbers, with the facts. And so when we get our rating, we won't submit it to the rating committee until, or if the contract is signed. We expect at the very minimum that our bond rating will stay the same at AA3. So the bond rating agencies recognize the strength of our economy. We have a lot of good things going on in our economy. So, and also, just one thing too, the concern, and rightfully so, for our seniors, and tax increases for our seniors, and the impact on our seniors. Well, several years ago, 15 years ago, the County Commission adopted the tax freeze program, and it was part of the tax relief program for seniors and those disabled. And anyone who qualifies for the tax relief program, which is, my last count was about 1,200 property owners. Their taxes are frozen at the current rate. If taxes go up because of staffing or whatever, they don't have a tax increase. From their taxes stay the same. That's part of the tax freeze program. So we are part of that. We adopted that years ago. And
Brendan, can you address the insurance issues as far as liability against not having a jail that meets the expectations?
we've had our liability insurance carrier, 2 of them have dropped us because of the number of lawsuits that we've had over with the conditions of the jail and it being decertified. And then we have the company we have now, they check on us from time to time where we are in this process. So,
And how long has that been in the process? How long has it been since we lost those 2 insureds?
5 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago?
We lost our certification almost 12 years ago.
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
About a week before I took off.
And if we were to take the
Nothing's been done.
existing building and remodel that to bring it up to where we would have we looked at the cost differential there?
As far as to hold prisoners,
Can't, right? Because that won't that's not gonna meet the requirement. But is there a way, what's the cost going to be, even if we change the purpose of it?
Well, let's say we have not priced, making it more sound, okay? We have not, as far as the roofing structure, that we haven't priced that. As far as renovating we would need new public restrooms for sure. And, if we don't build the courtrooms, one thing that hadn't been mentioned a whole lot during these discussions is with building the courtrooms, is we're also making space available for the sheriff's department. And right now the sheriff's department, I think, Captain Mullins' office is in a closet, or close to it, or has been. Or some of his folks are. And so there's a need for space for the sheriff's department. And it takes care of that without building a new building for the sheriff's department. We renovate space, we give them more space, and they can continue using the upstairs. Downstairs to be converted to storage. We could use the downstairs of the annex for a transitional program like Jail to Work for Guys. You have a kitchen there, you have laundry there. That's got a lot of potential there. Upstairs could be used for training. There's need for training for both jail staff and sheriff's department staff.
One of the things that concerns me, Mayor, is the transport of prisoners from the jail to the courtrooms, if the courtrooms stay in the old building. The last time I was over there, those inmates were brought down the hallway with all kinds of citizens. They could have easily transferred drugs to them. And if one of those prisoners should happen to get a gun off of an officer, and we read about this happening in the courtrooms, we would have a tragic situation. And in the new facility, they have no contact whatsoever with the public.
That's correct. The way the current design is the prisoners and the public and the judiciary are all segregated. And the only time they're in the same room together is when they're in the courtroom. So the design of the Justice Center, meaning the court area as well as the jail part, is focused on safety, space, the security of the cells themselves, the way they're manufactured, the two-bed cells, and where you can manage. If you need to put somebody who doesn't play well with others in one cell by himself, you can do that. And so it gives the jail administration all kinds of flexibility to manage the jail they want, keeps their jail corrections officers safe, it keeps the public safe, it keeps the judges safe.
If we move the files from their current location in the roof of that building, where would they go?
Several of them have been moved to the building down here where Teresa West has put in filing systems in what used to be the unemployment building down on the corner now.
What capacity is left in that?
There's not a whole lot left.
And we actually need those things to make this whole facility secure. Because our security has been on our backs about that, and the mayor has tried to plan for that for 3 or 4 years.
So that we move the primary entrance to this building would be the breezeway. You take a right to come into the courthouse and a left to get your car taxed. Pay your taxes. So there's a reason, and for every item you guys have discussed has been addressed during this process over the last 3 years. And we've discussed it more than once. The folks who used that space have been involved. This isn't something that we've done and we've just kind of thrown darts at the wall and say, you know, that's our choice. That hadn't happened. We've had TCIN since day one. We've had Jim Hart involved with CTAS very early. You have Todd Davis from Mosley, who's a former jail administrator and is a jail consultant, involved since day one. We've had people who know what they're doing go through this process. And I'll stand here tonight and tell you we need the courtrooms. I'll speak for the judges. We need the courtrooms. And you have to remember that this design with the latest bid has 2 courtrooms. One's shelled, the third one is shelled, but we've got the criminal courtroom, and we've got the General Sessions criminal courtroom completed. So,
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment on that. When I ran for Commissioner District 10, the number one concern was the conditions of the roads. My big concern, worry about this type of outlay of money, there may not be hardly any money left to take care of the infrastructure of the road, the condition of the roads. They're in horrible condition. I get called a lot about the roads. They're literally beating the suspensions out of the cars. So it's that, and that was their number one concern when I ran. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about.
Anyone else? Not moving forward. Item 3A, old business, there is none. Item 4A, contract with Blaine Construction Company. And that is included on the commission agenda. And I'll make a motion for that.
Put in for motion.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. You want to call the roll?
Jeff Akers,
No.
Eileen Arnold,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Yes.
Randy DeBoer,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
No.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Huntston,
No.
Wayne Eastman,
No.
Mike Reed,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward.
No.
6 no. Eight yes, 6 no.
Item 4B, the resolution 21 authorizing the insurance of general obligation bonds of Hamblen County, Tennessee in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $10 million. And I'll make a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Moore.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
now is the motion to put it on the agenda.
On the agenda. Call the roll.
Jeff Akers,
No.
Eileen Arnold,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Aye.
Randy DeBoer,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
No.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Huntston,
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
No.
Mike Reed,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward.
No.
5
Motion passes. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Carol Harwood, Elder Road, Morgantown. At the previous meeting, I was going to address an issue concerning two pieces of paper, one of them with rules and the other one with an agenda. And Mr. Shipley started, well, the rules say this, and I wasn't going to argue that. All I want to do is make the point of if y'all want to put out a piece of paper, you know, you make sure both say the same thing. During that, rigmarole went back and forth, Mr. Doty made remarks that we need some decorum in here, and we do. I agree with that. But a person should also be allowed to come up here and speak to something that is factual. As long as they don't use any type of foul language, they should be allowed to speak as they see fit for them to speak. I don't think it violates decorum to come up here and say something that may offend somebody else if it's the truth. Over a year ago, I remember spoke about a man that I went to his house and worked, and he was building his own house. And I talked about how the permit system was just driving him crazy because he was doing his house over a period of time, paying as he goes, so he'd have no debt. And one of the commissioners afterward come up and talk to me about it. I'm going to talk to him about it. I'm going to contact him. Okay, good. Well, the next time I seen that commissioner 2 weeks later, he told me, yeah, I contacted him. He said he wasn't having no problems. Well, what I did reveal in that meeting is that that man that I was talking about got to be my best friend. I spent a lot of time at his house. He spends a lot of time at my house. And at the time that commissioner called him, I was sitting in Mr. Lawson's house in his living room. So though I didn't hear both sides of the conversation, I did hear what Mr. Lawson told him. And no, he didn't tell him that the permit system was okay. So that commissioner directly, out and out blatantly lied to me. But I never come in here and called that commissioner a liar. But that's a factual truth, so I think I should have. So, Mr. Thick, you directly lied about that, sir. You are a liar, because that is not what that man said.
Anyone else?
Karen Harwood, 1501 Elder Road. Seeing as this is the Calendar and Rules Committee, seemingly there are several of you here that are way more worried about the rules than those of us in the public on this side have to follow. I've never worked anywhere in my entire career to where my employees made my rules. Employees don't make the boss's rules. Usually it's the other way around. So then therefore, at your little special call meeting, you didn't even know your own rules regarding the 10-day rule. And I reiterate, did you ask the mayor? You did. Ask the mayor about what? My God, you're the chairman, and you don't even know your rules, but boy, you sure know the rules about us on this side. So I just suggest, highly suggest, I don't know if you've got your own rules, laws, however, that you have to abide by. You have them. This has to do with your rules, review of regular rules, regular review of consent. You got a problem with following your rules and knowing what they are?
What's on the agenda?
Really quick. When's it ever going to be on the agenda? You know what? You're even my own
You know, we're not here for arguments, Mr. Chairman.
No.
I think we need to address this thing.
Chad, you want to cart me out of here? See, thank you. So hear me out. Get your rules together, get them consolidated, get them in some kind of print, and each and every one of you know what your rules are. And you, as my own, I can't contact you because you never ever pay a bit of attention to me because there is a deep set hatred both directions. I know it.
Anyone else?
My name is Tony. So we get the opportunity to talk about the rules again. Last meeting, we definitely showed that the commissioners sitting up here do not know, number one, what a rule is. Number two, what the rules are. You don't have rules so that you could just vote them towards the side when you disagree with them, when they fit your agenda.
There's really a point of order, right? That's not on the agenda, on the rules.
Sure it is. You all don't know the rules. That's on the agenda. That's part of the rules. That's why we need to talk about the rules. So the rules have to do with...
And the rules are, we have down, you go by what's on the agenda.
There's no such thing as rules for the jail. You're talking about rules. What would you like to talk about? What is the focus of your agenda tonight? The rules. I get to talk about the rules. And lack of the rules. Not a specific part of what Jim Stepp wants me to talk about on the rules. Because let's talk about the rules, Jim Stepp. You guys want the cameras in the back, but you have media sitting on your side. Okay? I haven't said anything about that. Rules. I'm a citizen. I'm talking about the rules.
No. I don't want to get in an argument with you at all, but the new business, the items of business, the discussion is on items on the agenda only. The regular calendar items and the consent calendar items. You can address those comments.
So there's...
Whenever the Rules Committee meets, that's the next time for you to address.
So why would we bring...
We don't have one.
We're bringing it up now. You guys don't have that meeting. Now is the time to address that.
No, you can address the regular calendar items and the consent items. That's what the public comments are about tonight. So I'm sorry.
If you want to address those, you can address it in the county commission, court commission meeting.
No, it's supposed to be addressed during the committee meetings, not during the commission meetings. That's what everybody keeps saying. You talk during the committee meetings, not during the commission meetings. Work gets done in the commission meetings. Voting gets done in the committee meetings. We have to figure this out. Rules. If y'all had this on paper, we'd know when we'd be able to figure this out.
Then they couldn't change them as they wanted to.
No, they would just vote to change it. Just like today. We're here to talk about rules, and I have to speak about a specific rule that doesn't exist. So I'm going to continue. So you all play the rule game according to you guys. When you have media, somebody from media sitting on the other side getting special treatment, allowed to go in and out that door, nobody says anything to them, but you have two other people of the citizens that are recording, and there's an issue with that. There's a problem.
We have covered this, we have discussed this, we have ruled on this.
You've ruled on what? That you're going to have a lawyer, a judge, come in here or rule on it, and we haven't had that. I want to know why my rights are being violated. You're allowing somebody to sit up there that has the same right to media as I do, and I get my rights violated, Bobby. That's messed up.
What right has been violated?
You guys tried twice in the past few weeks to get me to go in the back of the room. That is a violation of my rights. You didn't tell him to go in the back of the room. You allowed him to do his thing. He was leaning over the balcony taking photographs a few weeks ago. Nobody said anything. I wouldn't open my mouth either, Bobby. There's nothing to say. There's nothing that's going to come out of your mouth that's going to make the actions of this committee. I want the rules. The rules of what? For this gentleman to be over here and not be treated like the rest? No, he's not. I'm part of the media too, Tim, asshole.
Hey, right there. Man, it's not allowed.
That is allowed. Check the First Amendment. Come over here, Chad. See what you're gonna do. First Amendment right, I have already found out. Yeah, come on, let's figure this out. No, just like you're allowed to say bitch fest, I'm allowed to say asshole. It's protected by the Constitution. First Amendment right.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something.
Yes.
Going through that circuit court of appeals says you have the right to speak, but you do not have the right to disparage people from the podium, and that's exactly what you
That's not what I did.
Yes, you did.
That's not what I did.
That's disparaging.
No, it's not.
You're out of your mind.
Dude, he can call people bitch fest and that's okay. That's what I'm talking about, the two full-faced rules. You want the rules to go on your side, but not on our side. If somebody can call this a bitch fest, we're allowed to say the same thing back.
I recommend you take him out of here.
Adjourn.
Come out here.
Adjourn, let's do this, let's adjourn.
Record it.
Because last week he tried to kick me out of the meeting when after the meeting when somebody was up there. You told me to leave, it's on video. Well, and there was somebody else right there that you walked by because you couldn't get him to do what you wanted him to do. You turned around and you walked away.
Time is up.
Yep, time is up. Bunch of jokers out here. I want you to know the Ninth Circuit Court ruled last year that it is against the law, cruel and unusual punishment for homeless people to be kicked off of private or public property. I want you to know that as people get evicted from their homes because you are increasing the taxes, I hope they go and put tents in front of your all's houses and live on this facility right here for the government to see. Yep. Yep. You need to go. There you go. Meeting's adjourned. Congratulations.
Adjourned because we have we got to approve the regular and the consent calendar. And Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the regular and consent calendar.
Motion. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, Ms. Noy, the comments are over with.
Don't start that, that is First Amendment. I can't even speak at all.
Listen, your buddy over here.
I'm not her buddy. I'm solo.
Say that either.
Okay, you got a motion and you got a second, and then we'll listen to Ms. Noe tell us how we need to do
What's your,
it.
no, I want to speak before this motion goes.
No, we've already got a motion.
You're out of
Okay,
order.
let her speak, let her speak,
Very smart on your part.
let her speak.
Are people just gonna stand around, or you gonna
Probably.
leave?
Probably.
Go ahead, Ms. Nolan, you got 5 minutes, ma'am.
You got 5 minutes?
I know I do, thank you. What I want to know, what I'm asking you to do with your regular calendar in the Justice Center Jail Committee is move A and B down to B and C. And for A, have a referendum either in February, March, April, or May with the regular primary, and hold off on A and B depending on the outcome of that referendum. So my request on your calendar and rules is put a new A to have a referendum on the bond issue or issues, either one, and move A, blank contract, and B, the resolution, move those to B and C. And if A passes, then B and C, there's no vote. Because you would be waiting on a referendum. You would be letting the people vote. You loved it when they voted for you. Let them vote on this $100 billion project that can wait. You keep talking about, oh, prices may go up. You know what? They may go down too. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, just like you don't have a crystal ball for 50 years. Please put that on, and I know then it will require a vote in the commission, but I want to see how you'll vote on that.
I think the people need to see how you vote on whether you'll let them vote or whether you're gonna ram this through without even looking at the one-level jail. All these statements, oh, it's not this, it's not that, it's blah, 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 blah. Get the facts and figures, the real facts and figures. And I appreciate you, Mr. Neesmith. I hope you are able to get facts and figures the best you can without any help from anyone else. Thank you.
Item 3A, we have no old business. Item 4A, review of regular calendar items with the addition of 8C of the change of calendar. Have a motion.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second? Got a second. Warner, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 4B, review of calendar, consent calendar items. Have a motion. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's all I have, Chairman.
That's all I have. Don't forget to leave your notebooks. We stand adjourned.
I've been making recommendations, we go down to the city, get the city
I can understand that they need a full board, because if you want anything done, you need to talk to the lawyer and have emergency action. Okay. Yeah.
They have no idea the power of the First Amendment. I have been so nice for a year with these folks. Niceness is gone.
Get them on the calendar. Go by the mayor's office, make sure they're on the calendar. Yeah, okay. I think I've got everything out here that I need. You go ahead and keep that, because oh, you have one? Okay.
Y'all need to stop with the threats, man. I'm ready for some action. Look, we got buddies over here. So, Mayor Britton allows other parts of the media to get involved and give special treatment to, but then he tells the top of his departments to violate my rights and not let me be considered press, and we're going to get that all squared away. See? Going out the VIP door.